Hello, neighbors.
Hold on.
Hello, neighbors. This is Robert J. Ray coming at you from the Organism Chapter 4. My credentials is I'm a professional counselor and therapist and a trainer of counselors and therapists. And I'm also a nutritionist and a herbalist, family herbalist. And I do a lot of healing for people, and uh, I teach them how to eat proper. And I'm connected with the Whole Food store, and that's where I buy a lot of my stuff from is there. And people always are asking me what is the worst food you could eat, and so I decided to put the worst food up there, which is refined sugar. I was going to do this video earlier in the AM, about 10 a.m. was when I like to do my thing, but I got a painful call from the police up in Chicago where my son lives at, and they had went out and found his body in his apartment, and he was dead and had been dead for some days. And me and his mother had been trying to get in contact with him, and he was out of his pattern because he would call me every other day, and he would call his mother almost every day or every other day, and we had to accept that sad news and about our son today, and it's something that the last video I did was on death and dying, and it's just ironic how you never know when death is going to come take one of your loved ones or yourself. And I loved him more. He was next to God in my love life, and I'm gonna miss him really terribly because he was like my left arm. And my brother who died in 2014 was like my right arm. And outside of the fact that my son died, I mean, I couldn't be happier. It's just like my mentor said when he was dying in '76. He said, outside of the fact that he was dying, him and his wife, Cynthia, couldn't be doing better. So, and he always said there's more. And I know that Robert is over there with my other loved ones over there, and they're going to welcome him over there in the world of spirits. But I'm just sad that I didn't get to say. But we always said goodbye and we love each other after every phone call. So I'm going to talk about uh, refined sugar. Now everybody loves sugar. I mean, you're addicted to it, but it's the worst food you could eat, and it's really worse than a drug when you begin to know what it does to the human body. I was watching Gloria Swanson and Patrick Duffy, and that's the book that I read to find out about sugar. Is one I should read it at least once in his life. But he was on there with his wife, Gloria Swanson. I didn't know that that's who his wife was, but Gloria Swanson, she had talked against refined sugar for years and years, 20, 40 years back. She had stopped using it. I stopped using it in 1976. And and that's what I attribute my longevity is like not having any of the sugar diseases. And in Sugar Blues, they say back in ancient times, if a nation wanted to conquer another nation, they would send in all of the sugar that they could get and send it into that nation and let them eat that sugar for about 2 or 3 years, and then they would go in there and conquer them because that sugar made them weak. So you can imagine trying to wield a big sword back in those days, a big spear and stuff like this. It would tire you out real quick, and you couldn't win a battle. So that's what sugar would do to people back in their most ancient times, back in Alexander the Great's time and on up. But sugar being a toxic substance like it is really not a true food. And Gloria Swanson said it, and I knew it, and I had read it in the Sugar Blues book, and because the sugar that you should get is from your natural sweetness, which is like fruit and grain and and food of this nature. It has the sugar in it, which is natural sugar, and it turns into what is called glucose. Now, this is the sugar that everyone needs when they get up in the morning and their blood sugar level is low from sleeping all night. They should drink a little orange juice and get ready to eat them some oatmeal with a little honey in it in the cereal. But a lot of people eat this the cereal, which is really mostly nothing but sugar, but it raises the blood sugar level up. But the only thing about that type of sugar is that it raises it up for about 30 minutes or so, and then it drops you back down, really, and then you're really sluggish then. That's why a lot of kids can't learn in school because they eat that cereal before they go in there, and while they're on the way there, they're really up high in the sugar level. And then by the time they get in there and the teacher started teaching, then the sugar level drops them down low, and they can't concentrate. Then they're at a stage of exhaustion almost. But uh, so all of the like the refined sugar is stripped, and that's what people buy. You know, the bag of sugar that they get, and it's almost like crystals, and it's almost like cocaine is, and it's really actually worse than cocaine on the system. And but you have to get your blood sugar level up high because that's what gives you your energy, and you have to keep it on an even keel. Like if you eat oatmeal or something like that in the morning, some toast, whole wheat toast on with some cheese on it, and eat that, then your blood sugar level will rise slowly, and when it get up to the pinnacle where it needs to be, then it will remain there for a long time. And then when it does start to come back down, it will come back down slowly. So you'll have your energy in place most of the day until lunchtime comes. So they used to cane sugar. So what made sugar out of it is cane. We used to have a patch of cane every year when I lived on the farm, and we would take it to the miller and we would make molasses out of it. They would squeeze that juice out of that cane and then they would cook it. And then when you get it, it would be that dark molasses. But the molasses was good and it was sugar. I mean, I don't know how many hot biscuits with butter and molasses I've eaten in a lifetime, but the cane sugar, the way they refine it now, it takes all of the healthiness out of it, and therefore you just left with just straight sucrose like sugar. And the sucrose is a sugar that's in the cane sugar, and it raises your blood sugar level up, and it wreaks havoc with your body, and that sucrose causes a lot of havoc to the body. And but the worst sugar that you can eat is the corn syrup, and it's in almost every food that you can buy out there. Is the corn syrup, and it's a lot of it's in cereal, it's in all of the grain that you buy. It's found in just about every food out there, and then also along with that sugar is the trans fats. These are the additives that they use along with sugar. Sugar is in just about every food you can eat out there. Also, they use trans fatty acids, and all of these foods is linked to cancer. And they also have sugar substitute. One is called alpertine, and a lot of people use that in their coffee and their tea instead of the regular cane sugar. But it's linked to many diseases also, and it's a neurotoxin is in that alpertine. But it's sweet. It would do the trick for you. But when it gets in your body though, then it tends to turn into all of these other chemicals that's really hazardous to you, and it causes a lot of deadly disease. And one other thing that also causes diseases to happen in the body that a lot of teens, a lot of kids get access to is the dyes that they use in food. I mean, just about all of the foods that you think is the right color, like macaroni, they use all of these dyes in there. This like a yellow dye 4, yellow dye 6, red dye 1, red dye 2, and blue dye. And you would have to think that these things would have to be hazardous to your body and your health. But a lot of European countries they banned all of these stuff because it said it caused brain damage and a lot of behavioral issues to the kids over there. So they banned it. And one other one that I have to mention that I'm gonna have to read it to you because I want you to definitely know it. It's called monosodium glutamate. It's a MGS they call it, and it's called monosodium glutamate. This is what they say about it. It says that the MSG, the popular amino acid that's so flavor enhancing that it literally makes you see spots. They say it makes you see spots. And they said, I'm not kidding. This popular exotoxin added to soup, salads, dressings, and restaurant entrees will eventually cause disorientation and impaired vision, headaches, and neurological damages. It's consumed in excess. And what is excess? I mean, if you go to a restaurant, you want to enjoy all of your food, but if you got this monosodium glutamate in there, then you probably gonna get your excess in that. And now the foods that you need to eat is and the nutrients you get out of your food is three things you need to eat. And I'm gonna share them with you. There's protein and carbohydrates and fats that you need to eat. Now, most of you probably learn these things in school, and probably everybody know that they need to eat a certain amount of protein. But how many do you need to eat? Well, proteins you need between 100 and 150 grams of protein. But carbohydrates, which most people eat the most of, you only need 40 to 60 grams, and it will do what it needs to do in your body. I mean, when I was in the working in the prison, and we did this survey in the with the prison food, they were hardly getting any protein. They wasn't getting hardly enough protein, but they were getting an exorbitant amount of carbohydrate. And a guy would come in there, and he would be this size when he got in there. About 6 months later, he would have spread it out because they feed you mostly carbohydrates, and that turns into mostly fat. So, but the body begins to convert from a carbohydrate to a sugar burning furnace whenever you eat. And when you get those foods inside you, then that's what causes you to have the energy, is that you burn those carbohydrates and protein and things like that. And once you begin to understand how sugar works on the body, you can understand that you shouldn't get hardly any sugar today. People in America, they eat between 150 to 176 pounds of sugar a year. And somebody's getting my share because I probably don't eat a pound of sugar a year. And I probably get that when I'm out somewhere and I'm with people having a gathering, and the only thing they have to drink is water and a Sprite. And I might drink a Sprite. If I drink a soft drink, it would be a Sprite. And the kids today, they got them on drugs to counter the behavior problems that they develop from eating sugar. I mean, when kids go to school, especially, I've heard elementary teachers say, I can't hardly handle the kid in there. And because these kids have eaten the sugar, and then they come to school and they hyped all up, and you can't get them to calm down. And it's really a a really pressing thing and a sad thing for the teachers that they can't control these little kids. And a lot of them will put on this lithium and different drugs to try to calm them down. But all it is that it's the sugar that they're on. And if they would and if the parents would control the sugar that they eat and not let them eat sugar when they start out to school anymore, but try to eat something that will raise like oatmeal without any sugar in it, and you wouldn't have any behavior problem once they get to school because they do it. Now, Miss Gloria Swanson, I mean, you probably imagine that. If you never watch it, want to see who Gloria Swanson is, watch this uh, a movie that she was in with William Holden. That's all you got to do is say what movie was she in with William Holden. And Sunset Boulevard, I think the name of it is. And you would already remember her because she at the end of the movie, she's kind of lost sanity, and she asked me, "I'm ready for my close up, Mr. DeMille," and they and they give us the close up. So if you ever watch any movie with Gloria Swanson, watch that one. You really enjoy it. And she said that sugar is not a natural food, like I told you before, and sugar is man-made, and the glucose you could get from other foods, and that's what you need. The glucose is what every food is turned into when it's put into your body, and that food is turned into glucose, and it goes up into your brain, and that's how you can function, is on that glucose. Now, a lot of Americans, like I said, consume 176 pounds of sugar a year, and that's about 22 teaspoons of sugar in a day's time. That's a lot of sugar, and a lot of them do more than that because they say that it's 13 teaspoons of sugar in a soft drink. In a Coca-Cola, there's 13 teaspoons of sugar in there. And you can ask the Coca-Cola people, and they probably might deny it, but uh, if they told the genuine truth, they would say, yeah, it's 13 teaspoons of sugar in a Coca-Cola. And they would eat. That's why there's so many sugar diseases in the world today. And one is diabetes. And they used to call it the sugar disease, and they even shortened it down to sugar. He's got sugar, she's got sugar. And all it was is diabetes. And today there's two levels of diabetes. You got your level 1 and you have your level 2. And your level 2 uh, is the one that needs insulin. Uh, I'm pretty sure it's the level 2 is the one that level 1 you still have your insulin apparatus, which is the pancreas, and your pancreas handles all of the food that goes into your system, and it adds insulin to the sugar, to the glucose, to balance it out with the rest of the body and with the rest of the organs. But when your diabetes set in, that means that your pancreas is not putting out the amount of insulin that it should. And this is almost saying that the sugar has killed the pancreas, which is the insulin apparatus that gives you the insulin. And it's such a sad disease because everything you eat turns into this glucose, and you need the insulin. That's why people have to give themselves a shot after they eat anything, any meal they eat. They have to give themselves an insulin shot, and they've come a long ways with the insulin. A lot of times now they can put a device inside of in your stomach or something, and it has really gotten real sophisticated, and which is better, yeah. And it's kind of you don't have to shoot yourself with the insulin so often, uh, like people have to do today or did in past times. When they ate, they would have to give themselves so many cc's of insulin. And just because the sugar is killing the organs in the body. And it's the worst killer of all. And it's actually the worst disease of all because you got to eat and you got to have the glucose and you got to have the insulin to balance out the glucose. So it's two other diseases called hyperinsulin and hypoinsulin. Hyperinsulin is when you're getting too much insulin. You eat something and your insulin and the pancreas shoots out too much insulin, and that causes you to have swimming in the head, and you might be hyperactive, and it's not good to have hyperinsulin. And then the other sugar disease, which is called hypoinsulin, that's low sugar. You're not getting enough insulin to into your blood that you have. Let me correct myself on that. The hyperinsulin means that your sugar level is going really high and that the insulin is not counteracting it and is not giving you enough insulin to keep your sugar level from going over because you have what is called a 300 threshold that you have to get up. And if your sugar go past that, then you in danger of going into a coma or something like that. And the hypoinsulin is the low blood sugar. It's like the the insulin puts out too much insulin and causes you to have low blood sugar. And and by the same token, if you get too little, if your blood sugar level is too low, you can still go into uh, a coma with either one. That's why the sugar disease is the worst. I would say the worst disease out there of any, because you have to eat every day, and your blood sugar level is constantly going up and down. That's why you have to eat at meals, because if your blood sugar level drop down to a certain level, you'll be real sluggish and you can't perform your uses. And that's why people drink coffee. They get stimulated in the morning time, and they have to drink it throughout the day to keep the insulin, keep the sugar level up, so that they can perform their uses. And they say that food is what that food eats today. It creates crime. That's why kids do so many criminal type things. And like all of the shootings and that they've done, a lot of this stuff is caused by the food they eat, because it causes them not to be able to think properly, and and they find themselves doing criminal things. Uh, I saw a documentary last night. I think it was. I was curious about it because they had charged these four young teenagers. One from 16. The youngest one was 16, and then it was a 17, and it was a two 18-year-olds, and they had broken the house. They was on drugs. They was smoking marijuana, and they decided to break in this house, and the house looked empty. But once they got in there, individual come downstairs shooting, and he shot one of the guys. There was five of them went in there, and one of the guys was shot, and he died. And one of the other guys got shot also, but it was in his leg or something. But in Elkhart, Indiana, if you are committing a crime and somebody get murdered doing that crime, then they can charge you for capital murder in that crime. And that's what they did to these four teenagers. And it was really sad to see, because they convicted these four teenagers. Of course, they didn't have any gun they went in there with, but just because, and their friend is the one who got killed, they gave these uh, teenagers 55 years in prison. That I mean, and their parents was just overwhelmed with grief and pain. But it's things like this that teenagers do, and they can't tell you why they did it. They said they were smoking the marijuana, and they decided to go break in the house, and somebody got killed, and they was charged with it, and they'll be in there for 55 years, and I imagine they would have to serve at least 25 or 30 years to get out. But that's what a lot of food make people do these things, and that's what happened to them. This is something that is going to blow your mind before I end this session on sugar. Uh, it was a guy that was eating Popeye's chicken, and he was a gamer, and he was playing. And once these teens get into these games, they can go on and on and on. And he had bought a box of Popeye's chicken, and he put it on the bed, and he ate a couple of pieces of it, and about 2 weeks later, he came in the game, and he saw the Popeye's chicken box on the bed, and he opened it up, and it was a piece of Popeye's chicken in there. It's 2 weeks now. He took that piece of Popeye's chicken, went and popped it in the microwave, and heated it up, and took it out and put some hot sauce on it, and ate that Popeye's chicken. Now, now I don't know about you. Now, after chicken is a couple, 2 or 3 days old, I'm finished with it. Even if I got it in the refrigerator, I'm finished with it. Would you think that a piece of Popeye's chicken could last that long just sitting in the box on the bed and at room temperature, I guess, and then take it out, pop it in the microwave, get it out and eat? And he said, and this was my neighbor's friend of his, said that the chicken tastes almost like it did when he first bought the chicken. Now, now, what do you think about that? Y'all dwell on that a while. But this is the one that's going to blow your mind. A guy named David Whipple, I think his name was. He had a hamburger that he had got from McDonald's, and he kept that hamburger for 20 years. But he had kept it for so many years, and he took it around to show people that, hey, the bun was still looking good, and the hamburger was still looking the same. And for a long time, it had a pickle on it, and the pickle was okay. But after 20 years, he found this hamburger that he had wrapped up in his coat pocket. I think he had went to demonstrate it one time and forgot about it. And that hamburger was 20 years old. And he took it out, and the bun and the hamburger was still just about the same way it was when he bought it. Only thing that had spoiled was the pickle. But the bun and the hamburger was almost the same. Now what you got to say about that, people? I know billions of people eat McDonald's every day, and I'm not saying that McDonald's food is it shouldn't be eaten. I'm not gonna say that. They'd be trying to sue me and stuff. But this is an example of how they expect their food to last. And for 20 years, can you imagine that? Natural food wouldn't last that long. So they have to be putting something in this food and their buns to make it last 20 years. People, would you think that? And I saw it. I saw it. My neighbor pulled it up on his phone, and I watched the guy talk about it. If you want to look at it yourself, pull up David Whipple and his 20-year-old hamburger and see what you think about it. Hey, it's been neat sharing with you, and this was my first video that I was putting on Twitter, and I'm gonna be putting a lot more on Twitter, awareness videos, different ones, and you'll see my videos on Twitter a lot. And I hope for us to be really Twitter neighbors. And that's all I have to share with you on this first Twitter video, and I'm anxious to move on. Yeah, how that sound?